Hey guys, welcome back to The Pressing Matters. I'm Scott. Thank you for tuning in today and thank you for your support. Today I'm going to give you a brief recap on system changes so that you are aware of what I'm listening through, and I can give you some impressions on each component, which include the Hana SL, the Modwright PH 9.0 Phono Preamp, and the Cayin A-50T integrated tube amp. These are three new components that have arrived in the system in the last 6 months or so. So very important that you know what I'm listening through, so you can take my opinion with that in mind. But I always list all my equipment in the description box below whenever I'm commenting on sound, so you can have a reference to kind of what I'm listening to. But before I get into all that, I wanted to say thank you to the several people who have contributed to the Buy Me a Coffee fundraiser. If you don't know about it, very briefly, I'm trying to raise money to buy an editing laptop because my editor is leaving and my equipment is not up to speed to produce 4K video for this content. So there is a fundraiser. It's just it's called Buy Me a Coffee. You can contribute a few dollars and anything helps. I think we've raised $200 so far, and I want to thank all the people that did contribute something to that. So also, if you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing. Just hit like, subscribe, and notification. You'll be sure to get notified. Give me a thumbs up if you like this content, and let's get on to it. Okay, so excuse me. I apologize for the sound outside. It sounds like they're sawing down trees or something. I don't have control over everything. Lighting and sound is one of them. So if you go back, the first major change that I made in the last 6 months was the Hana SL moving coil cartridge. I did a video on my search for it, my purchase of it, and I did a second video on my further impressions of it. I haven't done an official review yet. That will be coming, so stay tuned for that. But in those videos, I kind of described my initial reservations about it, even though I had a very impressive demonstration of it and used it in my equipment before I purchased it. I still had reservations about it when I got it home and started listening to it. I thought, well, maybe it's break-in. I did that. I looked at my preamp, my phono preamp, which was the internal phono stage of the Audio Research SP9 Mark III. I looked at that. I said, okay, well, obviously it needs to be altered for the Hana, which requires 400 ohms, and it's set for 47K, so that's an issue. We altered the preamp internally for the Hana with the very best resistors we could, and upgraded the tubes at the same time, which were out of spec. So I brought that as far as I could, and still I wasn't 100% happy with the Hana SL. And I thought, oh, maybe I've made a mistake. And that's not a good feeling when you spend $800 on a cartridge or more. I can't imagine spending thousands and being disappointed. But so I said, let's look at the setup, because the Shibata requires very precise setup. It's legendary for that. So I was like, maybe the setup is not correct. It was initially set up by SoundLux. I think they did a good job, but it could use some further refinement. So I did a checkup with Oz at Let There Be Sound. He refined it a little further. I also have gone over it with a tool that I have here, which is the Ficart protractor, which is a very good tool and gets you right on the money. And it was absolutely on point in all parameters. I also played with VTA, I played with anti-skating, I played with everything to get this to sound like I wanted. And I always felt like the Hana was a little too forward in the top end and not quite as lush as I had heard it described. So it had many, many good qualities, though. I'm not going to say that. I recognized the basic character was great, but I still had these little reservations and worked my way down the line to try to address it. I was able to try 2 external phono stages. So the first one was an Emeline Nighthawk designed by Ray Samuels, and it's a little transistor battery operated phono preamp that has loading and gain on the fly. I had much better results with that than I did with the internal phono. So I was using that for a little while. It was borrowed, alone. And then I had a chance to hear an all-tube preamp, phono preamp, the Modwright PH 9.0, designed by Dan Wright. And the moment I saw that component and heard it, I was like kind of in love. I wanted to get a tube phono preamp rather than solid state. I looked around at other options and I didn't find a better option than the PH 9.0. So I decided to negotiate to get one of those. And I did. And that opened up the sound of the Hana and gave me everything I liked about the Ray Samuels unit, which is loading and gain on the fly. One reason I chose the PH 9.0 is because it has that. It's tubes, it has loading and gain on the fly, it has a mono switch, it has everything that I need. It has a separate power supply, it's extremely quiet. What the heck? Okay, Miami. So that was a big upgrade. I have no regrets. I think the unit is superb and I've had not an issue with it. The Hana sounded better. Could it have appealed to me more, even more? Possibly. And at the same time while this was happening, I was having a failure with the Odyssey amp. My Odyssey amp was built by Klaus at Odyssey. It's kind of a Frankenstein amp. So it's in a Cartago case. It has several major upgrades, wiring upgrades, a Kismet board. What else? It has the capacitance upgrades. So it's a very high current, powerful amp now compared to a stock Cartago. But I wanted the small form factor of the Cartago case, and even then, it's a beast. But it developed an issue with the switch, the on-off switch. It popped a couple times, and it had been kind of humming a little bit, like a mechanical hum. And then the 2 components, the Audio Research SB9 Mark III preamp and the Odyssey, together somewhere in the chain, I was getting electronic buzz through the speakers, and I could not track it down. I changed wires, I changed tubes, I changed the outlet, I changed the power filter, everything, and still to no avail. So I pulled out those components and was able to try the Cayin A-50T, which my dealer had on loan, on commission, and asked me if I would like to try it out for a week. I said, yes, definitely. I had never had an all-tube system before. So this solved 3 problems. I got the noising components out of the system, so those went off to the doctor, and I got a smaller footprint. So instead of two big components taking up space in my limited space in my rack, I now have an integrated that takes up one space. And the integrated has eliminated all the noise. It's added tube sound, and I'm enjoying music much, much more. The Hana now sounds like it's supposed to sound. I don't know why that is. Maybe when the components come back from their checkup, there'll possibly be an improvement. But I think somehow the tube amplification has really helped my appreciation of the Hana, and everything's working together synergistically now. And I feel like enjoyment when listening to music instead of being analytical and finding fault with things. And that was driving me absolutely crazy. I could not deal with that any longer. And now I'm not dealing with it. I am putting on record after record and enjoying music instead of sound issues, Unless I'm doing a sound comparison, I'm just enjoying music. And that is a blessed relief from what I was going through 6 months ago and throughout this process until that Cayin landed in the system. The Cayin, I decided to buy it because a couple things. The amp is going to be away for a little while. I needed something in the system. It was a used piece and it's in mint condition, or near mint condition. It looks brand new. It was in a home that was hardly using it, at least for the last part of its life before me. And it had a tube upgrade, which it has KT88 tubes instead of EL34. That was done at the factory. It also has a phono preamp, a moving magnet phono preamp that was added in. I personally don't need that. I questioned, if I wanted to spend what that would add to the cost. But being a used component, it worked out to about half of what all that costs. So I thought, that's a good deal. And especially that I love it and I've heard it in my system. Will it be my final tube preamp, tube integrated? I don't know. I may consider something down the road, but this is the thing with used components and I knew this. I heard it, but I always bought new components, and except for that audio research. And when I looked at the possibility of selling the audio research because of all these changes, I was like, I got this 20 years ago for, I think it was $800, and now I could turn around and sell it for $12 or $13. That's great. I mean, to be able to try a component for 20 years and then sell it and not lose a penny, that is kind of the way to go. And that's kind of what made me say, you know what, let me get the Cayin. It's at a price that if I decide to sell it in a year, I'm going to make my money back and nothing lost. So I'm going with used components, and for the most part, I did buy the Modwright brand new, but I got a good deal on it, so I'm happy. But yeah, I've been enjoying the system so much more. All of the components are sounding better. I don't feel any regret about any of the changes I've made. The Hana now sings, and the whole system is much more musically involving, holographic, and no noise, and just a pleasure to listen to. So I always list all my components below in the box, so you can always check to see where I'm at with the system. But that is where I'm at right now. I thought I'd do a video update so you could kind of see the components and get an idea of what I'm listening to. What's on the horizon? Well, nothing for the moment. I'm kind of strapped for cash, but if I can sell off some records, maybe I can afford to upgrade the speakers pretty soon. So I'm looking forward to that as well. But until next time, I'm Scott for The Pressing Matters. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.